let's keep approaching these topics step by step, and yeah, just knowing that not because, let's put it this way, not because you hear something here in one session doesn't mean that you're not gonna hear something very different in some other session.
Yeah.
But it's really connecting with what Adam was telling us some sessions
Sure, babe.
ago that I really like is not only because you hear something from someone, it's necessarily the case we will have to take it, um, because in a way the idea of these topics is for ourselves to learn this process on establishing what is true and what is not. Basically, what I'm saying is like this idea that Lord Shakyamuni say about don't believe anything that I say, but test it by yourself. Learn to think for yourself and learn the process that's gonna take you to establish if that's true or not. More importantly than just taking it out of, how to say, faith, which also, it's interesting, it's one of the forms of pramana. But even that, like lung, or what's the Sanskrit, agama, I think, in order to be a correct one, a correct agama, let's say, we have to understand when we can take it to be true and not. Maybe later we're gonna even review these topics on the art of interpretation, which is also very connected with Pramana. Okay, so having said that, let's move forward. I'm just gonna do a quick review of these 3.5 ways of perceiving reality in a valid or correct way. And then I would like to bring up some questions, some that I read in the chat, some that I myself have, and maybe Adam can help me with that, along with the outline of existence. Okay, here we go. Thank you, everyone, for coming, by the way. And the translators, thank you so much. And the recording people. Is there anyone, just to ask if it's recording
English?
Ukrainian and Russian? I don't see people. Oh, yeah. Well, Milan, thank you so much. She's recording English as well. Lyubov recording Ukrainian, thank you so much. But Russian, I don't see anyone.
Yeah.
Ukrainian. Okay. And is anybody listening to Russian right now? Because I could give them the rights to record and you just keep listening. You don't have to do anything. Your computer will just be recording. And later you can. Irina, could I give you, if you're listening to Russian, could I give you the rights? Tatiana. Oh, okay. Irina Usmanova, I'll give you. It doesn't give me the. I don't know why it doesn't give me the option to. It says chat as spin, make host, make co-host, putting waiting room. Okay, I'll try making you co-host and see if you could record. Thanks a lot. Now, in my end, I share my screen. By the way, if anybody wants, there is like a session that Team Lowenhub is gonna do. I'll show you as an opening for this event where we are, and maybe some people find it interesting. I just want to share you this poster. see, it always happens like this. Okay. So it's gonna be 4:30 Arizona time to 5:30 as an introduction of Geshe session today. So you could follow the QR to sign up. And then after this is gonna be Geshe. You can also watch online. These two talks are gonna be open, but if you wanna keep watching the rest of Geshe classes, just sign up for the event, for the full event. I think you all will know how to do that. Okay, now I
Gotta pull this over here. 21 brave souls.
Yeah. One second.
Thank you, Juan. Thank you for doing all this.
Yeah, welcome. Today I was really struggling. I didn't know if I was gonna be able to make it.
Me too, man.
Because I wake up like having a headache and stuff.
Oh,
But luckily, like I took some medicine and stuff, and then
you feel better?
I'm better. Yes.
All right. Now we can give you another headache.
Yeah. Okay. I'm sharing screen. Okay. One more thing. Let me see.
The 3.5 kinds?
Yeah. Because there were some questions about the yogic direct perception.
Yeah.
And I thought it would be good to check it out. But wait. I'm trapped into this. Okay. So I hope you're watching the sunset. Are you?
Yeah.
Okay,
It's a
cool.
beautiful sunset.
Nice. So we were talking about the kinds that our mind has to perceive existence, apprehend information, develop awareness. And mainly we can say there are three kinds. We already reviewed this, but it's the direct perceptions. It's called pratyaksha in Sanskrit and ngunsum tsema in Tibetan. This is the more evident, maybe the more obvious way of perceiving objects, and it involves our senses, like what we can see, what we can smell, what we can touch. Also, I think there is a way, Adam, correct me if I'm wrong,
Yes,
but
sir.
is there a way that we could even say that our mind can perceive objects directly? So it's like the six senses, including the mind.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I mean, that's kind of touchy.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I remember, I think it was in your first book that there was ways to perceive. It was complicated, and at some point maybe we got there, but it
Yeah.
was like a way to establish that even using logic on deduction, we could reach out direct perception or something like that.
Yeah, well, this is the entirety of what Master Dharmakirti is trying to pinpoint. So, in some ways you can say yes, and in other ways you can say no, right? And it really depends on what school you're looking at, right? So the second school, we have to state strictly that your mind cannot perceive directly its objects. And this is one of the things that I was hoping to kind of touch on today, which is very convenient that you brought it up. So, yeah, from the perspective of the second school, we have to say that strictly that the mind can't perceive real things. And when I say real things, I mean actual objects.
According to the second school.
Yeah, from now the higher portion, and stop me one. if you want to move on. But that's why the second school is divided into two sub-schools, right? So you have what's called the Sautranticas, who follow reasoning, right? And the Sautranticas who follow scripture. And the Sautranticas who follow scripture actually hold more, they actually lean more towards Abhidharmists. Okay, so you have a sub school within the second school that actually is more Abhidharmic, right? And then you have a sub school within the second school that actually leans more mind only. And then that's where, that's the reason I'm saying this is because from the perspective of the Sautranticas who lean towards reasoning, they tend to be more mind only, and they would say that the mind is directly perceiving itself, so that the mind is perceiving its objects directly, if that makes sense. That's why you have to be super specific about what school you're looking from.
Mhm. Okay, so speaking about pratyaksha, just to bring it up, like prati from Sanskrit means very much, and aksha is the root used for eye. So ak means to see. Pratyaksha could mean like to see very much. So yeah, it's something, let's put it this way, it's something you can perceive using your senses.
Yeah.
So some schools, Adam, they also say that it has to be immediate and fresh, right? And vivid. Like for it to be valid, it has to be happening
Okay.
right here, right now.
Yeah. Yeah, it's sorry, Ava was saying that she wanted to make me breakfast, but she was afraid that it would make too much noise. So I only heard a little bit of what you said.
Oh no,
But
never mind. And it's cool. Tell her that she can do it.
yeah.
You can mute the microphone.
Yeah.
No, just to saying that some schools also say that this perception has to be fresh
And
and like,
unmistaken.
yeah, like
Yeah.
happening
And
right here, right now, in the
yeah,
present moment.
well, this is no, not right now. Just give me 10 seconds, maybe 15 seconds. Um yeah, well, this is something that Gyaltsab J and Kadrip J disagree about. Okay, so and once again, I'm not trying to confuse anybody, but I want you guys to understand that when there's a definition given, like Juan just gave us, about an accurate perception has to be fresh, and what they say is unmistaken, right? Or unerring. Sardu Melue Rikpa. And that is, there's a great debate about whether or not memories, if you can have a memory that is accurate or not, right? So, and this is very interesting because I have a coffee cup here in front of me, right? And let's say I close my eyes now and I think about the coffee cup that was in my hand before I closed my eyes, and I think about the color and its shape, right, in my mind, whether or not that memory is actually still an accurate perception or not. So it's not just remembering things from your childhood or not just remembering things that happened a year or 2 years ago, but actually objects that you perceived just a moment before, right? Whether or not those memories are accurate or not. And this, it's too much detail. I think we'd have to spend a class on it to really go into that. But this is something that Gyaltsab J and Kadrip J disagree about. And there's maybe only two or three things that I know of that Gyaltsab J and Kadrip J disagree on. And that is one of them. So, like I said, these things, they can get kind of touchy and kind of sticky. Uh, they're not so easy to, you start to realize the more you study them, there's a reason why. people in the Geshe program study them for a long time. Right?
Yeah. And to me, it's even cool to realize this thing, like even in the same schools and even among very well learned practitioners, students, teachers, there are disagreements. Like if Kedrubje and Gelsabje disagree on some aspects, it means a lot.
Yeah.
Like we have to really dig deeper
Yeah.
and to really, understand this topic. So it's not only difference between schools, but even in the same schools, there can be sometimes
Well, this is
differences.
it's a very interesting question because you gotta and sorry to stop you, but I found it fascinating when I first started to because I thought KJJ and Gaotsabje would just agree on everything
Mm-hmm.
because we all know who their teachers were,
Mm-hmm.
who their main teacher was,
Mm-hmm.
right? So how did they interpret what Jetson Kappa was teaching them, right? And it's very interesting. When I went to go and study a book called A Dose of Emptiness,
Mm-hmm.
there's a very famous biography of J, and they're saying that J was a reincarnation of someone called Sakya Pandita. And then J, it's interesting when you look at the lineage of J, J, some of the other students around Jetson Kappa. Um, I think I'm talking way too fast, so I have to remind myself not to drink any more coffee.
Okay, that's it. You wanted to say anything else? I thought you sip in the middle of a sentence.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I can I think with these things we do I have to be better about just saying what needs to be said right now.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I guess I should point out again that maybe something we could all take away from this is let's look in 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, 50 years, depending on how long you've been studying with Geshe Michael. And do any of you think there may be a possibility that we would disagree on the things that Geshe Michael has taught us? Is it possible that we can interpret things that he's said in different ways in 30 years when we all have our own students?
Yeah, no, and I think it already happens. Like many times we are talking with our friends and we claim like, no, Geshe, when he said that, he mean this. But
Yeah.
then some other comment, no, he didn't mean
Yeah.
this. He didn't mean the other thing.
I think you and I do this all the time.
So it's really
Yeah.
interesting how it is true. It happens in our daily lives all the time. So how can we make sure we are getting closer to truth and
Yeah.
not farther away from it?
Well, because I think this is super important. I think there are some things that have to stay within the realm of truth.
Mhm.
If Juan says that the definition of an accurate perception, right? Um, let's say if an accurate perception has to be fresh and unmistaken, okay? That's something that will not change, okay? Now, our interpretation about what that means, right, is really where we will disagree, okay? And that's precisely where J and J disagreed, was J says that is memory is that J says that memories are mistaken. Okay. So he agrees with the literal meaning of the definition. And J says, no, memories are unmistaken. Okay. So there are certain things that are going to remain undebatable. We cannot debate about what the definition of an accurate perception is, right? But we can debate about what the definition implies or means, right? So I think it's going to be important, and this is why Geshe suggests that we all take the foundation courses, because you will be given uh, a list of. Has anybody heard Geshe Michael say the difference between Lam Rimpa and Tsen Nipa, right?
Yeah.
So a Tsen Nipa is a person who lives within the world of definitions and categories and divisions, because those things are undebatable within our tradition, right? So we, as Geshe Michael's students, I think all have a responsibility to learn these definitions and to learn them correctly, and to learn these things accurately, so that when we're talking and Juan and I disagree, right, we have something central, we have something that we do agree about, right? But we may disagree about what it means to be unmistaken. Yeah, and that's where you can really start to get. That's where you find debate. That's where debate lies.
Yeah. And even it's funny because Adam, even I will disagree with what you say about that we cannot disagree with definitions, because just
Yeah.
as a technicality,
Hmm.
because I think we can disagree with definitions, but not once that we start our debate, let's say.
Uh,
You know what I'm saying? Like when we
yeah.
start our conversation,
Yeah.
we have to be on the same page of what it's going to mean when we say this.
Well, if we're going to debate about a car, we have to agree about what a car is.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, that I agree. But there can be some certain times and places to, let's put it this way, debate what to be a car means.
Yeah. Yeah.
So in that sense, it is possible to debate again about definitions. Maybe you want to find out if really the definition of fire is a
Yeah.
correct definition. So for that, there is time to do that. But
Well,
once you establish, you get together into an agreement that what it's going to mean to be fire, then you proceed, and then you don't argue with that side of the story. Let's put it that way.
well, let's also let's ask everybody who's here, the participants.
Mhm.
Does anybody know how to start a debate? What's the very first thing you do in a debate? Did you start churching? Yeah. Okay. So this could, yeah. Okay. Thank you guys for being so specific. Yeah, you have to consider a subject, right? You do, if you're going to open up a debate, you say D, yeah. Um, However, you guys were thinking much more clearly than I was when I asked the question. So if you want to start a debate, you have to start the debate by saying something incorrect. Okay. So if I came up to Juan and I said, a car has two wings and a beak and it flies, is that incorrect?
Yes.
Run to my computer freeze. No. Ava said yes. Um, is okay. If I say that there are 32 days in the month of January,
Hmm?
okay, these are things that we can debate on, right? Does that make sense? Did Juan? Oh no, Juan's still there.
I'm here.
Yeah, Ava just whispered. Yeah, she whispered in my ear. She said, "There are 31 days, Dad." So, um, anyways, my point is that it really makes me wonder how Gyaltsab J and Kadrip J would have handled this debate amongst themselves, right? Um, but we were saying, Juan was saying that if we were going to debate, we need to start the debate by first agreeing on something, right? We have to agree about, like, everybody knows that you can't, you should. Um, if we agree that sound is okay, that sound is changing, because it was made. Okay. This is something we're going to get into the second half of the class. Okay. Um, do we, I cannot debate with you about that topic unless you first accept that to be made means to be changing. Before we can ever talk about whether or not sound, okay, is changing, we have to first accept that to be changing means to be made. Okay. So that's the thing that we have to agree upon. Okay. So we do have to agree about certain things, right? Like Geshe Michael has always told us, he said, if you try to prove something to somebody that they already accept, okay, um, you have already lost the debate. Okay, does that make sense? So there are certain requirements. Everybody hears the one, two, and three parts of the syllogism, right? But there's actually a fourth one too. And the fourth one is whether or not the person meets the requirement as being somebody that you want to debate with. Does that make sense? So you have the three relationships, but you also have a fourth one, which is that your debate partner has to be somebody that fits the requirements of being somebody you can debate with. Okay. Now, once again, Juan, you got to stop me because I think these are all things that apply back to what do you do when you have a disagreement? Okay. Especially within the text of Gyaltsab J and Kedrup J. And why does this apply to what Juan was discussing about the outline of existence? Because he was saying, well, what we say today, we may correct ourselves tomorrow. Yeah. And the more you study these things, you start to realize that your understanding, does everybody know the word refine, right? So your understanding of these things gets more refined the more that you study them, right? So I think the reason I'm trying to give this all context is because it applies to what Juan was saying earlier about the outline of existence and how, he found that there were some things that he wanted to correct.
So in the chat, Christian was asking if you could repeat, but I didn't catch what's the part he wanted you to repeat. So if you, Christian, remember, you can type it there. If you remember what you didn't catch exactly. Yeah, right.
Hold it. Is it mistaken or unmistaken? His memory.
Okay, so I think I'm just gonna move quickly to get where I wanted to. But
well, Juan,
yeah,
feel free, man. I think it would be you're more than welcome to kind of go into my time too, and we
cool.
can
Yeah,
kind
we
of
can do this kind of interaction. But the idea was just to bring this review of the three kinds of pramana, and then talk about the yogic direct perception. Now, it's interesting to me that, in a way, to me, like anumana, supposedly the definition is like anu means again, and manas means to measure, like it's same as pramana, right? And here anumana, again, to measure, but anu means again. So in this way, it's kind of you are measuring something. And I wanted to bring this idea of like you were, Adam, just talking about memories and how Kedrubje accepts them as to be valid and correct, and Kedrubje doesn't necessarily. Sorry, Gyaltsab doesn't. Kedrubje, yes, takes them. But like memories will be more in the realm of anumana, if I'm correct. Although a memory and logical deduction is not necessarily the same. It's like, in a way, you could argue that a memory is more of a direct perception, and anumana, it's more of a indirect perception, in the sense that it involves a process of reasoning and deduction. But a memory, it seems to me that it's more like it's, in a way, it's direct, because you are perceiving the memory of the object that you remember directly. You don't have to figure it out like, oh, well, 5 minutes ago in my hand, I was feeling something hard and a little bit hot, and it had some liquid in it.
Mhm.
So it must have been a coffee cup. I think it was a coffee cup. Yeah. No, with memory, it's like a bright, direct image of what you had in your hand a few minutes ago, right? So I don't know if you have anything to add to this, but in a way, anumana, if we take it to be a remeasure of things, could involve memories, but
Mhm.
in the sense that it doesn't involve, when we access memories, a process of reasoning necessarily. I guess maybe that's why the debate goes like, those memories are part of direct perceptions,
Mhm.
or memories will be more suitable for logical deductions,
Mhm.
or what kind of perception will a memory be, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so then the other kind is the lung or agama, which we also talk about it. Like, in a way, yes, we have to learn when to trust other people and their correct perceptions. At the same time, we have to learn how to develop our own correct perceptions, and not only take whatever it say to us for granted. So it's like a balance. We need to learn when can we take something to be a correct perception, even if it's coming through, um, I don't even know how to call it, if it's coming from a third source, let's put it that way,
Mhm.
or when that thing that it's being given to us, that information, even if it's given to somebody else, we can decide is not correct.
Mhm.
That's a very important process, I think. Maybe that's when this thing of the art of interpretation plays in.
Yeah.
When can we trust something that somebody tell us
Mhm.
is
Well,
correct, and when not? And
this
then,
also,
yeah,
sorry, I
it's
didn't,
good.
please finish your thought. Um,
Yeah, no, it's just like it's an art on itself. Today I feel my English a little rusty, but it's like, by itself, it's already, how do you say, in and of itself? It's an
yeah,
art in and of
yeah,
itself.
yeah, yeah.
To
But
know when and to whom we can trust as to be a correct perception, and when we are just hearing
yeah.
incorrect ideas, right?
Well, has anybody taken course 4?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So one of the main topics in course 4 is um, proving why Lord Buddha is someone you can trust. Right. And then
Mm-hmm.
there's a very famous quote: "Semar gyurpa jola pinshepa tumpa deshe kyopla chaksaldo."
Mm-hmm.
I bow down to the Buddha, the one who turned correct. Right. And then what does it mean to turn correct? And does anybody remember any of the um yeah, he described suffering perfectly. Thank you, Juan. That's exactly what I was about to ask. Yeah. So it's once again, it's how do we know that we can trust someone, right? And what are the indicators? What things what are the signs that somebody is someone we can trust, right? And if you guys want to do some of your own study, does everyone know who Art Engel is? It's so Ken Rinpoche, Geshe Michael's main Tibetan teacher, um, had two main students, right? One was Geshe Michael, and the other was Art Engel. And Art studied with Ken Rinpoche, I think, for maybe 1, 2, 3 years before Geshe Michael came to the monastery. And so Art is very, very, they say he's one of the best Sanskrit scholars in the United States. And he translated a book called The Bodhisattva Levels. And if you want to get a copy from Amazon, there's there's an entire section in there that just goes over the signs that somebody is a bodhisattva. Okay. And I mean very, very small things, right? So there's like a whole chapter that's just on what would a bodhisattva look like. Okay. Because outside, you don't see like a glowing halo or an aura, you know, they don't have like a purple aura around them, you know, or something. But there are signs in the way that they act that will give you a good indicator as to whether or not they're a bodhisattva. And these are very good list of things that we could all, at least I'll speak for myself, that I try to do day to day. I try to do these things, even though I'm not a bodhisattva, in addition to my bodhisattva vows. But even more so, if we're talking about how do we know, this Juan is talking about agama, right? And what does it mean to hear something from someone's mouth and to take that as being something that we should follow spiritually. And I think using this list of bodhisattva signs that are in Art's book is a very good way to judge whether or not you should you should sell someone your spiritual real estate.
Yeah. And in another sense, in a very daily life, practical way, this idea of when you can trust, because right now you talk, Adam, about Shakyamuni, right?
Mm-hmm.
And now, like that's like a very, probably the ultimate example.
Mm-hmm.
But now if we take it to a daily life, let's say you go to a doctor, and how can you establish that that doctor is really qualified to give you advice?
Oh, yeah.
And the many tools that you could use to decide if the doctor is giving you an agama or is just giving you incorrect information. And that, I think, could take how to say, a lot of skill and a lot of training to decide when to take something and someone as a source of correct perception, correct information. And I think I will argue that that's part of the course, foundation course 15 on the art of interpretation. Not really, because it's more focused on what the Buddha really meant, in the sense of also like emptiness, very specifically. But if we are trained there, I'm sure it will give us some tools to also be able to use it for daily life situations. And now let's talk about the yogic perception. That's where the question was about. Yes.
Just sorry, very quickly.
Sure.
Since we're on the topic of who we can trust, I said that Art Engel's book was his book. He was actually translating Arya Asanga. Yeah. And Arya Asanga, we know, was taking and had direct communication with Maitreya. So I just wanted to point out that I'm not saying we should trust Art Engel. I'm
Ah,
saying, you see, yeah,
okay.
I'm saying Art Engel was translating Arya Sangha.
Okay, okay. Yeah, I haven't met him.
I
Art
haven't
Angel, I
either.
mean,
Yeah, I haven't.
on my tray. No, I don't know.
Yeah.
So now, regards the Yogi Pratyaksha, that I will say it's kind of the 3.5 because it involves kind of a combination of a few ways of um, perception. Now, the question in the chat pretty much was, what's the difference between yogi pratyaksha, the yogic direct perception, versus the direct perception of emptiness? So maybe if anybody in the chat has any idea on what's the difference or what are the similarities, what's the relationship between them? Let me see. Ola is asking if you, oh yeah, Adam got it. He will share the list. Okay. All right. So no opinions regarding this in the chat. So as far as I understand, the yogic pratyaksha requires kind of a combination of both, like because it's a direct perception, but at the same time it's something that it's beyond the senses. It's like as if your mind could access information directly without necessarily the need of like a logical process right there, and not necessarily the use of the senses right there. In a way, you could say that in order to get there, Adam was saying a few sessions ago, we do need shamatha and vipassana. Vipassana being like a very well-informed training on reality. How you want to call it, Adam? There is a word to refer to vipassana as
They say special. I've the most
special insight.
special insight. That's the most commonly used translation. And it is, I don't Hlak Tong. It's Hlak Tong in the East West Chinese.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
yeah, Hlak Tong. And you are gaining insight into the ultimate nature of reality, and it is a special form of meditation. So I think special insight is
Yeah.
probably a
And
okay translation.
as far as I understand, we develop vipassana little by little by, for example, studying and understanding emptiness intellectually. The more that we do undertake our studies and our analytical meditations and other forms of meditations, we start developing vipassana, understanding intellectually, let's put it that way, emptiness and how reality or
Yeah.
how existence works.
You know what they say in particular is the way that you start the path of Vipassana is by studying the outline of existence.
Awesome.
They say
Great.
that's the way you actually begin walking down that road of having a direct perception of emptiness is by first learning how to categorize everything in reality, because then that gives you meditation objects for all day. Yeah. But also at the end of what Juan has chosen to present to you guys, there shouldn't be anything that can appear to you that you won't be able to describe, right? So anything that you can think of, anything you can see, anything you can smell, hear, taste, or touch, anything you can experience, such as emotions, there's not a single thing that will appear in the universe that you won't be able to accurately describe. Yeah. And they say that's a good jumping off point for Vipassana. And that's why what Juan is very skillfully chose to present.
So in one hand we have the Vipassana, and in the other hand, as a requirement to have this yogi pratyaksha, we have shamatha, this ability to be strongly single pointed on an object, like single pointed concentration, they call shamatha. And then when we combine these two, we can have this experience as yogi pratyaksha. Today, before the session, I was thinking about this, that maybe shamatha versus vipassana, and I don't know really, but it's just something cooking in my mind, like, or at least let's talk about shamatha. I kind of see it as learning how to dive very deep into water, opposed as, let's say, when we are learning all the content and learning to debate and learning information that of course is very helpful, it will be like training on swimming. Like that's the metaphor it came to my mind, and we can examine it to see if it applies or not. But it's like if we are learning all these things, like how to debate and divisions and categories, it's like we are training our swimming. But that doesn't necessarily yet qualifies us to dive very deeply, because it's a slightly different skill set. Yes.
Just remembered, Kadrin was saying, was
well
asking, yeah.
Okay, thanks. Anyways, this idea of it's not only enough to be very skilled on swimming and how to say having this resistance to do so many laps, and but also then we need to develop this ability to go down very, very deep.
Yeah.
And I was thinking this a similar analogy for shamatha, the importance to really give ourselves the time to train our mind in concentration, not only in learning and studying and debating, and which is extremely helpful and very important as well, but also training this other side of the mind, which is like deep, strong concentration, single pointed concentration. Okay, so they say, well, some things that I've read about yogi pratyaksha is that there can be many different forms of it. And for example, some forms of it could be like having clarity on past lives and future lives, some forms of siddhis, for example, like some forms of clairvoyance, being able to hear maybe things that are happening miles and miles away, or to see very clearly certain things that are happening in other places that you are seeing them directly, and at the same time you are not necessarily seeing them with your eyes. So now I will ask you and the audience, like, what do you say is the highest form of yogi pratyaksha?
What is it here? What about a clue? I don't know if this is right, but
Yeah. I will agree. So seeing emptiness is the highest form and the most helpful and meaningful form of yogi pratyaksha.
Can I ask another question?
Sure.
When we see emptiness directly, do we see it with
Probably
our eyes?
not really, right? It's like more like we perceive it. It's like the direct perception of emptiness.
Yeah. Everybody says seeing emptiness, right? Directly, but I was, anyways, I thought it was an interesting.
No, I think these distinctions are very important, because sometimes on the names and definitions we find valuable information. Conventionally speaking, we can say, yes, see emptiness directly. But if we get more technical, you are not seeing anything. You are perceiving something. And it's directly, like even in the name of the experience, a lot of information is contained. For one, you are perceiving, and for other, it's directly. So in the name, perceiving emptiness directly, we can find information. So I will say like the direct perception of emptiness is a yogic pratyaksha.
Mhm.
They are not the same necessarily because apparently there are other forms of yogi pratyaksha, but then
Or
the
could
perception of emptiness, it's one of them.
could you say would you agree, Juan, that maybe we could say you have one type of yogi pratyaksha, but you have different results of yogi pratyaksha?
Maybe, and really, to be honest, that I don't know. So what you're proposing is like there is only one form of yogi pratyaksha. Okay, maybe as
You
is
see?
if we talk it, is we take it as a way of perceiving things.
Yeah, like we wouldn't say there are many different types of direct perception.
Oh yeah, I see what you mean. I
We
see what
would
you
say that you have many different objects of direct perception
Yes, yes, yes. I
and many
agree.
different results of the direct perception.
Yes, I agree. Awesome. And then there is this question in the chat by Ola that can someone have direct perception of emptiness
Mhm.
without yogic abilities that you describe? So I think
Uh,
again we are just talking about linguistic here because
yeah.
it could seem that yogic abilities you are thinking about like the traditional maybe asana practices and stuff. And in this sense, we are not necessarily talking about that. We are just saying
Mm,
that
mm,
it's a, can we call it like a function of the mind
mhm,
that happens to be called yogic in the sense
mhm,
of it's like a very well trained, capable state of mind that allows you to access this form of perception.
mhm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so.
What's your take?
You
What,
know,
what abilities, Ola? The abilities that I describe.
oh,
Oh, shamatha and vipassana. No, I don't think anyone can have the direct perception of emptiness without having developed shamatha and vipassana. I don't think it's possible. Do you think it's possible, Adam?
no, no, I don't think so. Not with, so this is what separates the different schools. This is also what would separate the Hindu schools from the Buddhist schools. This is what would separate the Zen schools from the Tibetan and Indian and Hindu schools. This is what would separate Tibetan Buddhism from, let's say, modern science and their understanding. Okay, um, and I think you really what separates and what makes all these schools different is what they define emptiness as being, what they describe the gotcha as, right? So, um, if you wanted to say, yeah, within our tradition, you cannot experience emptiness directly without yogic direct perception.
Mhm. And now I'm glad we talked about it. I think can be helpful. At the same time, Ola say that that's not what she meant.
Yeah,
What
well,
she meant is the other abilities like
yeah,
clairvoyance and stuff.
well, this is really beautiful.
Yeah.
You can get these cities, you can attain these cities before seeing emptiness directly.
Mhm.
The Geshe Michael has said that one of the causes to being able to read the minds of other people is learning how to listen to them closely and how to focus single pointedly on what someone is saying when they're talking to you. And that through careful consideration, based around paying attention to someone, is it plants the seeds to actually be able to read their mind. And not because you want to know what they're hiding from you, but because you know then how to help them more appropriately.
Mhm.
Yeah. So some of these things, some of these abilities, I think you can get before you reach shamatha.
Mhm.
But obviously, when you reach shamatha, these abilities will be it's a bit like being half of Spider-Man or like half of Superman. But then when you reach Shamatha, you have all of Wonder Woman's like abilities, right?
Yeah.
If that makes
And
sense.
at the same time, Adam, I think it can be the other way around. I do think you can see emptiness directly if you have shamatha and vipassana,
Yeah.
even before you develop any of the siddhis.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it
Yeah.
could be the case
Yeah.
because it's what Adam was saying. Like a yogi pratyaksha is one form of perception, and it could perceive different objects. The highest of these objects is will be emptiness, but this kind of perception could also be manifesting and in these forms of clairvoyance.
Mhm.
It's like to say, let's take just regular pratyaksha, direct perception. Pratyaksha can perceive the color of a red apple, and at the same time, pratyaksha can perceive the sound of a violin,
No.
just to say something. In this way, yogi pratyaksha could perceive uh, maybe a nearby future or a past life, and at the same time, the yogi pratyaksha could perceive emptiness directly. Does that make
Mhm.
sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh yes, Janet say that in some way we are already perceiving things into distance right now.
It's
Yeah, and
true.
that's a very cool thing that
Uh,
Adam and I have thought in the past. Like Adam,
yeah.
remember you were telling me how miraculous is that we were flying in an airplane?
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, and I keep thinking about this beautiful thing Adam told me once that for him, and I agree, these topics are actually taking us into how to say there is sometimes this complaint that these topics could be very dry and very scholar or very intellectual, and they leave a little aside this like beauty or magic of opening our hearts and feeling and seeing beyond. But then Adam was telling me how actually they can help each other, how
Mhm.
having a very strong understanding, intellectual understanding of these things can help you to see and live in a much more beautiful and magical world and life.
Yeah. Um, yeah, just to add something too, that I hope you all find as beautiful as I find. I think, yeah, in some ways we don't realize that we do have cities right now. Some of us. I yeah, thank you. And I think one of the ways that we can we need to all consider just how special we are. Yeah. Um, if you are seeing Geshe Michael in your world, and if you believe that he is an Arya, you have some very amazing karma. Very, very high. You very high practitioner. Uh, Even if you don't see yourself that way, the seeds that you are carrying, yeah. Nguyen said she met him in person last week. This is very, very high seed. Um, and I think it speaks to just how advanced we all are, even if we don't realize it. And it would make sense to me that if I see an Arya in my world, that I might also have certain abilities that I'm not aware of. Sometimes I have these intuitions because Geshe Michael, I used to live very close to Geshe Michael, and I used to spend a lot of time with him. And when I moved away, I was very sad because he's like a father to me, and I don't see him quite as often as I used to. But I sent him a text message. I said, Geshla, I really miss being close to you. And I said, but I know you're in my heart, and I know you can hear me, and I know we talk often. And he just wrote back one word. He said, true, with an exclamation point. So I think the more you do your guru yoga, right, the more you meditate on putting your lama at your heart, you have a special connection to them. And you can talk to them all day. And that voice you hear in your head, right? I ask questions all day. How should I do this? What decision should I make right now? Right? And instantly something comes into my head. Instantly. Right? And for some reason, it doesn't feel like my own voice. It doesn't feel like my own, you know? And I would say that this is a city. I would say your ability to talk to people without your mouth, right, is a very, very beautiful thing. And I think this is all going back to just different types of special powers that we all have if we see Geshe Michael in our world, right? And whether or not that's an accurate perception or not, I think that's for everybody to figure out for themselves, right? Sorry. Can I say just one more thing? We went from last week, we talked about how can we prove that unchanging things cannot change. Why are unchanging things unchanging things? Okay. And why do unchanged? Oh, this is very sweet, guys. Yeah. So we can also look at it another way. And one of the main things that I was hoping to present to you guys today was looking at why changing things. And we're going to finish here in 6 minutes. Ula brought up something Ula brought up something that I hadn't thought of. And she said, if you guys go over, and it's fine to tell people they can leave if you want to, but the translators can't leave. The translators have to stay.
They are kidnapped.
So yeah, so I had not considered that before, and so I apologize to the translators if I've kept you guys for longer than you had committed to being a part of this. And I think I'm going to remain very, very, yeah, I'm going to make sure that we get you guys out of town when you need to get out of town. So something we should think about, and we're going to go into this deeper next week, okay? But one of the main things I was hoping to give you guys to think about from today until next Friday is we talked about proofs for why unchanging things have to be unchanging, okay? So if we wanted to look at the other side, right, of the outline of existence, and we wanted to say changing things, right? Why are they changing? And why can we say that changing things can only last for a moment? Why is that? Right? It's something that Geshe Michael has told us. It's something that Master Dharmakirti says. But have you proved it to yourself? And has anyone given you a proof to think about? Okay. So if we say this is something that Master Dharmakirti calls an inference from existence, okay? So just given that something exists, it has to have certain qualities, okay? And we say that if something exists and it's a changing thing, okay, it has to only exist for a moment by definition, okay? Does anybody know why I may say that? Okay. If something lasted for more than a moment, let's say that something lasted for 2 moments, that would mean, by definition, that it would be unchanging for do you see what I'm saying? If something existed for longer than a single moment, that thing would remain unchanged from moment to moment. I needed to hear about you can leave if you need 5 hours ago when I went teaching overtime. um, okay. Yeah. Okay. This is a great point, Bula. Yeah. If something is changing, it by definition cannot exist for longer than a moment. If something exists for longer than a moment, you would have to say that it remained unchanging. Most of the time, when people think of things being unchanging, they think about things that last forever. So you always think about unchanging things as being, oh, like a mountain that's been here for millions and millions and millions of years. Or you think about, subtle impermanence or absences, these things that exist for all eternity, let's say. Okay, they remain unchanged. Okay. But being unchanging can also apply to just 2 moments. Okay. Does everybody understand the reasoning there? Right? It seems pretty common sense, right? So, does anybody remember? Yeah, any length of time, right? So, if something remains unchanged for any length of time, that means that it's unchanging. Even if it's for 2 moments. Now, if you think about that, that is a proof as to why changing things can only last for a moment. Okay? So everybody has heard Geshe Michael say this. If something exists, if something is a changing thing, it's a cause. If something's a cause, it's also an effect. If something is both a cause and an effect, it's a functioning thing, right? Remember all these synonyms we were talking about? Okay, so also being momentary is one of those things. Okay, and what does it mean for something to be momentary? It means that it comes into existence and goes out of existence, just like Juan just said. Very conveniently, right as I was saying it. Subhuti. I have a few different Subhutis in the chat. So it's 8:30, but I just want to make sure that everyone understands what it means to be changing. Goes hand in hand, okay? Like a hand and a glove, okay? To be changing is to be momentary, okay? All right. So to be unchanging means that you could also just be unchanging for 2 moments. Okay. It doesn't have to be all eternity. So next week, we're going to spend time unwrapping that present. Okay. We'll take all the wrapping paper off. Yeah. And we'll undo the bow and we're going to look at really what it means. Okay. So like I said, we'll spend 40 minutes on that next week.
Okay, so thank you so much. Really, I think it was nice today to do this interaction. Instead of us splitting, we were just jumping in and out.
Yeah.
So that can work as well. And yes, thank you so much. Anna has been doing a lot of materials for the chat and adding subtitles. So thank you, Anna, so much for all the work and send reminders and things like that. And also Ola and Catherine, Bob, and Ina for translating and for supporting the project in general.
Mhm.
And to really everyone that takes the time and interest to be here. Thank you so much for trying to I don't know how to say it, be a better person in general, be more capable of transforming this world, really. So thank you so much. And my last thing is just to again encourage you to join the program that's starting today. You can join online. Geshe will have the first session. What is it? Let me take the count. 6, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So let's say 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, like in about 9 hours.
Mhm.
In about 9 hours, Geshe will have the session. Make sure you register, and just 1 hour before that, team has an introduction session in case you're also interested. So thank you so much and best wishes.
Yeah, just quickly, Janet, you said that not all phenomenon has to be produced, and it doesn't have to be arising. We might need to unpack that in the telegram,
Uh,
because if something is changing, it has to be produced.
Not the way we think. The way we think is through arising, but it's through our past deeds.
Hey, thank you. I bow down. I bow down. Maybe we can keep talking about it, or definitely make sure that that you ask that we talk about that next session. Okay.
And what happens when there's no more past deeds? What happens?
Yeah, these are beautiful debate points. I really love that. Yeah.
okay,
Right.
so thank you. See you next time. Or you want to say anything else?
No, that's it. Well, I promised the translators we would get them out of here 4 minutes ago. I already broke my promise.
Thank you so much. And thank you,
Yeah.
Adam. Nice to see you.
Yeah. Yeah, you too, man.
Maybe start thinking when you can come to visit Arizona for your next
Totally.
translation session or something.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's too hot, man. Too hot
Yeah,
down there
but
right
soon
now.
it will change.
It's true, man. Yeah, everything's changing. All right.
All right. Sending best
Yeah.
wishes.
All right. Love you guys. Thanks for coming.
See you next time.
Yep.